Scorching July afternoon. You step up to an old American farmhouse. Weathered boards, a wide porch, maybe a giant oak hanging over the yard like it's guarding the place. Heat is shimmering above the fields. The air outside feels thick, almost sticky, like you could wring it out. You reach for the doorknob. It's warm. You pause for half a second, thinking, okay, this is going to be miserable. Then you walk through the front door, and somehow, without fans, without air conditioning, without even a hint of modern mechanical help, the temperature drops. Not magically, not dramatically like stepping into a refrigerator, but enough that your shoulders loosen. The rooms feel cooler. The light looks softer. The air moves gently, like it's breathing. You can hear a faint breeze sliding through window openings. You notice how the house holds on to the cooler air instead of turning everything into an oven. So what did old Americans know that we forgot? Farmer Brain is 65 years old, and he's the type of person who doesn't romanticize the past. He respects it. He points at the porch like it's a piece of equipment, not just a nice place to sit. That house ain't lucky, he says. It's designed. They planned for heat like it was a neighbor that never leaves. That's the big idea. It wasn't one miracle trick. It was dozens of simple ideas working together. Location, shade, airflow, building materials, roof design, and even daily habits. When you add them up, you get a home that stays comfortable during the worst summer days. Let's walk through the cooling system in an old farmhouse, step by step, and see how it all works. If you're building in a hot place, you don't just pick any empty lot. Old builders tried to stack the deck with geography. They looked for shade trees, big ones, grown-up oaks and maples that could block afternoon sun for hours. They also paid attention to breeze patterns. Sometimes a hill could catch cooler air drifting in. Sometimes the land could channel wind, the way you'd aim a hose. And they faced the house in a smarter way. Porches and windows often got oriented to avoid the worst afternoon sun. The goal wasn't no sun ever. The goal was controlling which sun hits what and when. It's easy to underestimate this. You might think, sure, shade helps, but it's still hot. But in real life, even a few degrees matter. In the summer, comfort is all about small changes stacked together. Old Americans understood that heat control starts outside the walls. 2. The porch wasn't decoration. It was cooling tech. Believable Rameau leans forward a little like he's telling you something he learned from experience. A porch, he says, is where you lived in July. Today, people often think of a porch as a nice front porch photo spot. Back then, a deep porch was a daily cooling engine. A porch blocks direct sunlight. That means the walls don't bake. Windows stay shaded longer. The house absorbs less heat during the day, so there's less heat to release later when you want the indoor air to feel good. And porches weren't tiny anymore. Many farmhouses wrapped porches around 2 or 3 sides, sometimes even all the way around. That creates shade throughout the day, not just in one direction. Plus, the porch gives you a place to be outside without turning your indoor space into a furnace. Families spent a lot of their time on porches during the hottest hours. Instead of forcing all the living to happen inside, they let the porch do the heavy lifting. So when you see a wide porch around an old home, don't just see style, see function. 3. Windows and cross breezes, open air ventilation. Now let's talk about the part that really stands out when you step inside, airflow. Many modern homes have big sealed windows. They look sleek and they help with insulation, but they also reduce natural cross-ventilation. Once you close them, the air has nowhere to go. Old American homes were different. Builders placed windows so that airflow could travel through the house. The simplest layout is this: windows on opposite sides. When you open 2 windows across from each other, wind doesn't just wander around inside randomly. It forms a path, a cross breeze. Air enters one side, passes through the living space, and exits out the other. That's not a complicated trick, But it's powerful. You feel it as soon as you walk into a room where air can move freely. It doesn't have to be icy, it just has to be moving. Believable Brain nods like he's been waiting for you to ask. They didn't need no buttons, he says. They needed openings. And that's the key. Openings, timing, and airflow, working together. At night, families often opened nearly every window they could. Cool evening air could stream in and flush out the heat that built up during the day. In the morning, many windows stayed open to take advantage of cooler air. Then, as afternoon heat rolled in, shutters and curtains could close to trap the cooler air inside and block the sun from reheating the rooms. So the house isn't just on all day, it's managed, like you're steering comfort through the day. High ceilings. The hot air goes up first. Another feature you'll notice in older homes, taller ceilings. Some historic houses have ceilings 10 or even 12 feet high. Why would someone build that way? Because hot air rises. Your body feels comfortable when the air around your skin is cooler. If hot air collects near the top of the room, people can live below it. You still get heat, but it's not concentrated at breathing level. In a low-ceiling room, hot air rises and quickly mixes into the whole space. In a high-ceiling room, that warm air can gather overhead like a heat layer, leaving the lower part of the room more livable. So when you walk into an old farmhouse and the room suddenly feels airy, almost cathedral-like, remember, it's not just aesthetics, it's vertical temperature management. 5. Transom windows, tiny vents that matter above doors. Look above a door in many older homes. You might spot a transom window, a small window placed above the door, sometimes with its own opening mechanism. That design is sneaky smart. When you open the upper part of a house and allow hot air to escape high up, it encourages cooler air to enter lower down. The transom window helps vent the warmest air because warm air naturally rises. It's passive ventilation, cheap, simple, and effective, especially on those nights when the breeze is your best cooling tool. Now think about what the house is made of. Old farmhouses often used thick wood, brick, stone, or plaster. These materials don't heat up instantly like thin drywall or lightweight modern construction can. They absorb heat during the day, but they also release it more slowly at night. So instead of spiking indoor temperatures when the sun hits, the building acts like a buffer. It spreads out the heat across time, which helps your indoor air stay more stable. Some houses even had double walls with air spaces. Again, the point isn't to sound technical, it's to slow down heat transfer. In plain language, the house doesn't become a hot box immediately. It's slower to change temperature, which gives your ventilation and daily routines time to do their job. The roof and attic make heat stop before it reaches you. If the sun is pounding the roof all day, the heat has to go somewhere. Old homes often treated the attic like a heat barrier. Hot air collects under the roof first, instead of fully entering the living space. Attics acted like a buffer zone. Plus, many homes had roof vents that allowed some of that heat to escape upward and out, instead of trapping it inside the structure. So even when the outside is brutal, the living areas can remain relatively more comfortable, because the hottest air doesn't always travel where you sleep and spend your days. Sleeping porches, the outdoor AC of the past. Here's one of the most memorable and surprisingly effective ideas. During hot summers, many families slept outside on covered porches. These weren't random backyard naps. They were practical setups: airflow, shade, and protection. Mosquito nets could make it safer, and the porch roof kept rain and direct sun off the sleeping area. Because air movement is constant outside, bodies cooled more effectively than in a stuffy bedroom. Even doctors sometimes recommended sleeping outside or in ventilated spaces. People believed that fresh night air could help health. Whether you take that part literally or not, the comfort mechanics are real. Heat doesn't just build up the same way on an open ventilated porch. Believable remote. Farmer brain smiles when this comes up. They slept where the air was working for them, he says. You can't beat moving air. Kitchens and summer kitchens reduce indoor heat at the source. Cooking is one of the fastest ways to heat up a house. On a hot summer day, that matters even more. So old families often had a plan. Sometimes they cooked outdoors when possible. Other times they built a separate summer kitchen, a separate building or room designed mainly for cooking during warmer months. That means the main house stays cooler. You keep the heat produced by cooking out of the spaces where people sleep and relax. It's a simple idea. Don't put heat-producing activities inside your comfort zone if you can help it. 10. Landscaping and water. Cool the yard, cool the house indirectly. Comfort doesn't begin and end at the front door. Old Americans often used landscaping as part of the cooling strategy. Large shade trees protected the house from afternoon sun. Vines might climb walls or porch supports, adding shade and reducing surface heating. Gardens can cool the surrounding area compared to bare dirt and hard surfaces. Grass tends to absorb less heat than stone or bare ground. It holds on to moisture a bit differently and helps keep the local microclimate cooler. And then there's water. Wells, springs, ponds, fountains, anything that supports evaporation can cool nearby air slightly. Evaporation is like nature's slow-release cooling trick. Some families stored milk and butter in spring houses built over flowing water. Those small structures could stay much cooler during the summer, using the temperature of flowing water and the physics of evaporation and shade. You don't need to build a spring house to learn the lesson. Shade plus moisture plus evaporation plus airflow around the home equals comfort. 11. Daily routine. Timing is everything. Now here's the part that feels almost like a lifestyle, but it's also just smart physics. Old Americans didn't fight the weather. They adapted their day to it. Heavy outdoor work happened early when temperatures were lower and the air was calmer. Afternoons slowed down. That means fewer hours of heat exposure and fewer hours of cooking your home with constant activity. Windows were opened when the air outside was cool enough to help. When it got too hot, shutters and curtains went up like shields. Night air was used aggressively because it's the best natural reset. Laundry and baking were planned too. If you know the heat will build, you don't force heat-generating chores into the hottest part of the day. Believable Rameau says it plainly. It's not that it wasn't hot, he says. It's that people worked with the day. They paid attention. Then air conditioning changed everything, and we lost the habits. Eventually, air conditioning arrived, and it was revolutionary. Once you can control temperature with a switch, the old methods don't feel necessary. Homes started getting built smaller. Ceilings often got lower. People relied less on cross-ventilation because they didn't need to open the house the same way. Shade trees were sometimes removed because development took over the space. Porches shrank, sleeping porches disappeared, and a lot of the daily timing, opening and closing based on the breeze and temperature, faded into the background. In a way, air conditioning didn't just provide comfort, it changed how we think about comfort. Instead of managing heat, we eliminate it. Instead of cooperating with nature, we replace nature with machinery. But machinery has trade-offs: energy use, costs, and the fact that many solutions still focus only on indoor temperature, rather than the whole environment around the building. The good news: modern design is rediscovering the old playbook. Here's where it gets hopeful. Some modern architects are bringing back those older principles because they work. Cross-ventilation is suddenly new again, but it's basically the same idea. Open pathways for air to move through rooms. Deep roof overhangs are valued because shading a wall matters. High ceilings show up in energy-conscious designs because they help separate hot air from occupied space. Shade trees, natural airflow, and energy-efficient planning are increasingly seen as part of the building, not an afterthought. Even if the details differ, the logic stays the same. Comfort comes from design choices that manage heat, light, and airflow, rather than relying solely on mechanical cooling. The real secret: No single trick, only teamwork across the system. So if you're looking for the one thing old Americans knew, you won't find it. There isn't a single miracle invention hidden in the walls. Instead, it's dozens of small ideas that reinforce each other. A shady location, a deep porch that blocks afternoon sun, windows placed for cross breezes, high ceilings so hot air rises away from you, transom windows that vent warm air near the top, thick, slow heating materials that buffer temperature changes, attics and roof vents that keep heat from reaching living areas, sleeping porches that capture nighttime airflow, separate cooking spaces to reduce indoor heat, landscaping, gardens, and evaporation that cool the surroundings. Daily routines tuned to the day's temperature. Each one helps a little. Together, they create comfort long before anyone invented air conditioning. People think it was luck, he says. It wasn't luck. It was knowledge you could live with. So the next time you drive past an old farmhouse with wide porches, tall windows, and a yard full of big shade trees, don't just think it's charming. Look closer. You might not just be seeing an old building. You might be seeing an entire cooling strategy made out of simple, everyday choices. And the most surprising part? It doesn't require complicated technology. It requires paying attention to sun, wind, shade, and timing. Because in a way, old Americans didn't build their homes to fight the weather. They built them to cooperate with it.